I sue bars. I will, if you serve someone to intoxication and beyond, if you put someone on the road that does injury, I will take your insurance proceeds, I will take your liquor license, I will take your establishment, I will take your savings, your money, your home, I will take you to the cleaners. Such is the message of the Plaintiffs' Bar of the United States. The legal industry responds to public needs by the same way that religion and insurance does, and that's by selling fear. I'm here to sell you that fear today. If you don't respond to the great problem that is on the road in the form of drunk drivers, then there are going to be more of me than you can handle, and your industry will be hanging on by its fingernails to survive. Today, every time we pick up the newspaper, it is commonplace on a daily basis to see the horrible story of another drunk driving accident and the terrible cost in human life and the dollars that we all contribute to our society caused by the drunk driver. We can, as a society, better use those resources than to waste them at the hands of alcohol. There are a couple of theories of legal liability existing in the various states of the United States, and those are either at the hands of dram shop legislation, statutes on the books that specifically delineate your responsibilities as a server of alcohol, or in other states that I'm more familiar with, the common law theory of recovery, namely that of negligence. And the negligence theory of recovery very simply is this. By reason of the liquor licenses which you all hold to serve alcohol and to profit, the society has said, in return you owe us a duty. And that duty is not to serve someone who is already drunk. That duty is not to serve someone who is under the age and shouldn't be drinking. And that duty is not to serve someone who has a propensity for abusing alcohol. If you abide by that duty, there is no problem. But as Oscar Wilde said some time ago, a duty is someone else's responsibility. No, it's not. It's our own responsibility. It is each one of your responsibilities. I stand before you with some credibility and some credentials in that I have handled cases that have gone to juries, and I have gone to the courts that write the laws and have established expansive liability against you. My claim to fame in my original case, my first case, was a case called Cimino versus the Milford Keg. And in that case, just so you get a flavor for what you're up against, the dastardly facts that a jury is going to hear and which is going to engender their response in the form of dollars, goes something like this. On a cold January evening, about 6 o'clock in the evening, not an ungodly hour, young John Cimino, at 7 years of age, was walking just ahead of his dad on the snow-strewn sidewalks of Milford, Massachusetts, walking home from his nightly visit with his grandfather and grandmother, as is the Italian custom in the small, closely woven community, when out of nowhere, with no lights on, a driver came careening down the street, crossed the lane of traffic, and unfortunately there were no cars going in the opposite direction to stop him, drove up on a sidewalk for some 150 yards, striking young John and leaving him bloody, battered, tattered, and torn on the sidewalk, striking his father, Joseph, knocking him over a line of shrubs, driving through a telephone pole and splitting it in 3 pieces. One portion of that telephone pole actually piercing and protruding out of the back window of his car. Drove back onto the line, through the line of traffic, into his lane of traffic, and drove another 1/4 of a mile to the next bar, where he parked his car and went in to get a drink, never knowing really that he had struck and left a young 7-year-old boy dying on the sidewalks of the town of Milford. How difficult is it for a jury to understand this case and your liability when they have to picture a 7-year-old child, the sons or daughters of any of you here, or any of your children's children, or any of your brothers or sisters' children, when the description of that young boy laying on the sidewalk is that every time he moved, a bone protruded out of another portion of his body. There was blood coming out of his ears and his nose and dribbling from the side of his mouth. That he laid there in agony, in shock, on the cold sidewalk saying, "Daddy, help me." And Daddy bent over and couldn't help. How difficult is it to collect money from you from the sale of alcohol when I described that father having to go to bed every night and walking by the empty bedroom of his son who is now deceased, or going to or not going to the graduation party that his son would have been enjoying, or the military service that his son will never have the opportunity to provide to his country, or the grandchildren that the father will never know. How difficult is it to get piles and piles of money from you?